Jules Dassin's 1948 film, The Naked City, claims to be completely transparent and true to life. Shot on location in New York City, the film features regular New Yorkers going about their daily lives in the city as often as we see actors. The film claims to present
the city as it is.
This attempt at realism becomes confusing when one considers the film's representations of police and crime. Whose reality, precisely, is being presented here? For the most part, The Naked City seems to align itself with the police force. Though the film's main plot is a police procedural, these are not your typical film noir hard-boiled detectives. These are the first shots we get of head detective Muldoon.
Don't forget your country or the ones you left at home. Write a letter now and then and send me all you can. But Paddy dear, sure don't forget you are an Irishman.
And Detective Halloran.
Goodbye, Mrs. Halloran.
Goodbye, Mr. Halloran.
Yeah, come on, you little Indian. On your horse. See you tonight, Mac.
So long, bud.
The police detectives in The Naked City have families, domestic lives.
That it was hot in Manhattan today.
It was too busy to be hot. On a new case. The subway was a furnace, though. Wow.
You too warm to say hello?
Mm-hmm.
These interactions are incredibly humanizing. Muldoon and Halloran become more than one-dimensional police detectives. They're fully fleshed out human beings. Throughout the film, Muldoon and Halloran's personal lives become intermingled with their work lives. Muldoon sings in his office between meetings about Gene Dexter's murder.
When you're home, don't forget your country or the ones you left at home. A heavy case.
This mirrors the scene earlier in the film where he sings in his home, suggesting that while Muldoon is surrounded by murder and crime in the workplace, he's not consumed by them. While he's on his way to question a suspect's brother, Halloran discusses his wife and child with his colleague.
Know what my kid did the other day? Crossed Northern Boulevard all by himself.
Yeah?
Shows the kid has nerve. My wife was sore for a few minutes.
Big deal. We haven't got any kid, and my wife's sore all the time.
Even when they're working together on a murder case, Muldoon and Halloran are interested in their domestic lives. Partway through the film, Muldoon and Halloran have a phone conversation about the case with each other while at home.
But I'm going to start in and help you. I'm giving you Fowler and Constantino beginning tomorrow morning.
Thanks, Dad. Good night.
Muldoon and Halloran are not just police officers, but family men. These kinds of scenes make it seem like these detectives are not only good police officers, but good people too. The Naked City's mystery plot is continually interrupted with scenes containing children who are completely irrelevant to the story's plots and characters. Near the beginning of the film, viewers are shown a scene where a man kills someone and throws him into the river. Immediately after this, the narrator says,
It's an hour later now, 6 a.m.
and the camera cuts from the murder to a baby crying. The sound of the baby's cry interrupts the scene with not only its volume, but its unexpectedness. The juxtaposition of these scenes primes the audience for the necessity of a savior, one to protect the innocent baby and catch the murderous criminal. This happens several times throughout the film. Immediately following the scene where Niles is discovered to be a jewel thief.
Where'd you get the cigarette case you sold this morning?
Frank, tell them.
The film cuts to Detective Muldoon sitting in his office, watching children outside sing and jump rope.
With the alligator first.
Dan?
Yeah.
Upon Halloran's entrance, Muldoon closes the window as if to protect the children outside from the grisly murder he's discussing in his office. By cutting back and forth between the detectives fighting crime and children playing, the film creates a connection between these two scenes, emphasizing that the city streets are only safe enough for these children to play in because of the work the police do to fight crime. The positioning of this scene, with Detective Muldoon watching the children below from his office window several floors up, makes it appear as if Detective Muldoon is watching over the children from above, like a guardian angel. In another scene, a group of boys swimming discover a body.
When boys go swimming in the East River, for example, why report it to the homicide squad?
The narrator's sarcastic tone here could be read two ways. Who better than the homicide squad to handle the dead body? Or, who better than the homicide squad to handle children accidentally caught up in the world of crime and danger? The Naked City is also extremely detailed in its depiction of the police force's methods, making the detectives' work seem transparent and trustworthy. This is no corrupt police force taking bribes on the sly from gangsters in back alleys. These detectives do their work in daylight, in full view of the camera. The narrator lays out the police's methods for the audience.
An investigation for murder is now underway. It will advance methodically, by trial and error, by asking 1,000 questions to get one answer, by brain work and leg work. The items that make up this murder are being compiled now. They'll be listed in a folder marked Dexter, Jean, along with some questions. Is Henderson the murderer? Did a taxi cab take him to the Pennsylvania Railroad station?
In this piece of narration, the narrator not only explains for the audience what the police are doing now, but what the next steps in their investigation will be. In The Naked City, the police's methods are not inscrutable, incredible leaps of logic a la Sherlock Holmes, but simple logical steps that could seemingly be replicated by any average citizen. The Naked City demystifies the crime-solving process, and in doing so, positions the police as transparent and trustworthy regular folks. So far, The Naked City's reality seems to be a reality heavily biased in favor of the police. However, I argue that there's something a little more complex at work here. Much like the police detectives, the criminals in The Naked City are humanized, normalized, and integrated into the community. Let's start by looking at the film's main victim and femme fatale, Jean Dexter. Though she dies in the opening sequence of the film, we hear lots about Jean's glamorous lifestyle from her doctor.
Took stimulants by day and needed sleeping pills at night. I told her to go slow, but no, life was too short for her.
Her boss.
And somewhere in the back of her pretty head was the fixed notion that she couldn't be happy without being rich. I don't think Jean ever would have married unless the man had money. Real money.
Why did you fire her?
Gentlemen sometimes come here with their wives. When Jean Dexter modeled, many of them left my shop a little too interested in her. Their wives didn't like it, and neither did I.
And the newspapers.
Read about that bathtub murder?
I'll say some figure that dame had.
These comments paint a picture of an exciting, glamorous, beautiful young woman. But The Naked City also shows a softer, more human side of Jean.
My baby! My baby! Oh, my baby!
Before Jean was a glamorous New York City model, she had a childhood and a family who cared for her.
A good girl, I swear it. It's my fault, maybe. I didn't do better for her. When she was 15, she was working already. The 5 and 10 cent store. Oh, it was hard. Depression time. Hard.
Even the film's narrator has a soft spot for Jean.
And these are the lights that a child born to the name of Bathory hungered for. Her passion has been played out now.
Though Jean's a thief, The Naked City depicts her as a dreamer, a naive young girl who wanted more out of life. Frank Niles, like Jean Dexter, is simultaneously glamorized and humanized by the film. He wears expensive clothing, including a much flashier suit and tie than the police detectives wear. Despite his numerous lies to the police, all of which he gets caught in, he claims that he does not lie about everything.
I told you, I don't lie about important things.
Despite his initial flashy appearance, Frank Niles proves to only be an amateur criminal. Willie Garza, arguably the most violent and criminal of the film's cast of criminals, is well liked by other people in his neighborhood.
Sure, I know him. Willie.
Where does he live?
This street someplace.
What house?
Down the street someplace? I don't know.
Where's the phone?
Mister. Who are you, mister? You from a collection agency, maybe?
Dan? This is Jimmy. Dan there? Oh. Well, now look, when he gets back, tell him I've located Garza. Yeah. On Norfolk Street, between Rivington and Houston. Right. Okay. Bye.
By me, Willie is a nice fellow. A man likes kids, he's nice. Any little kid asks him, will he place the, what you call it? I don't want I should make trouble for him.
Even the film's narrator seems to have some sympathy for Willie.
Take it easy, Gaza. Don't run. Don't call attention to yourself.
I argue that the reason for these moral contradictions lies in the Naked City's editing history. The film was subjected to a significant edit by Universal Studios, which resulted in dramatic changes between Jules Dassin's original vision for the film and the version of the film that was released to the public. The film's writers and director were trying to make a different film than the studio's editor ended up making. In its initial conception, The Naked City was intended to contain radical social criticism. Rebecca Prime, in the book Un-American Hollywood, Politics and Film in the Blacklist Era, traces the Naked City's editing history. Jules Dassin and Albert Maltz approached the film from the perspective of men who had received their political education courtesy of the Depression and the New York radical theater scene of the 1930s. As Prime describes, Dassin envisioned a film filled with scenes of wealth disparity, with shots panning from fancy jewelry stores to homeless men, derelicts sleeping on the steps of fancy hotels, and a commentary from Jean Dexter's parents on the social conditions that led to their daughter's death. These proposed scenes, particularly the one with Jean Dexter's parents, seem to construct the undesirable and immoral elements of the city as resulting from the enormous wealth disparity in New York. In its initial conception, the Naked City seemed to take the side of the criminals, showing that the cause of their crimes is poverty, wealth inequality, not evil. However, the Naked City finished shooting amid Hollywood's Blacklist-era censorship on October 21, 1947, just one day after the first congressional hearings of the House of Un-American Activities Committee commenced. As Prime writes, the liberal New Deal culture that had flourished in Hollywood before the war was rapidly replaced by conservatism as Hollywood realigned itself with corporate interests. This newly conservative political climate in Hollywood resulted in major edits to The Naked City. The film's producer, Mark Hellinger, died in December 1947, and without Hellinger's influence, the Universal Studio executives had no one stopping them from making the film they wanted. As a result, the studio cut all of Dassin's scenes that exposed New York City's poverty and hinted at any radical political stance. Prime writes, Dassin walked out of the film's premiere in tears. Gone were his shots of bums on the Bowery, his satirical jabs at Upper East Side socialites. What remained was stripped of the stark contrast between wealth and poverty that the director considered its most defining aspect. The contradictory morality within The Naked City can therefore be understood as the result of the competing visions of its multiple creators. While Dassin, Maltz, and Hellinger may have imagined a radical film that criticized the failure of New York City's social systems and attempted to construct crime as the result of poverty and ineffectual social supports, Universal Studios had other ideas. By attempting to edit the film to fit Hollywood's increasingly conservative censorship standards, the studio added in a competing political and moral element to The Naked City, resulting in a contradictory vision of crime and morality. So, while on the surface, The Naked City's conflicting messages about crime, police, and those involved in the criminal justice system may seem unfocused at best and contradictory at worst, when one delves into the film's editing history, a clearer narrative begins to emerge. The Naked City not only represents the city of New York as it is, but depicts realism in another way, the very real and conflicting personal and political motives that characterized Hollywood in the late 1940s.
There are 8 million stories in the Naked City. This has been one of them.